It's funny that Jeff says that, or Gendra, because I don't know which one it is. But I was just talking about how I can't wait for winter because this garage is crazy hot. He said he can't wait for hoodie weather, and that just reminded me that I need to check the order status of my Asclepius Snakebite Foundation. I ordered a hoodie and a t-shirt, so I need to check and see where those might be. I don't know. I'm much more comfortable when I'm cold than when I'm hot. Just you can add layers as much as you want, but you can only take so many away. But we are waiting for Bill and Ryan to show up. So this is episode 82 of Snakes and Stogies, brought to you by Puget Sound Pythons. Right here. Yeah. Check them out, Facebook, Instagram. They have a YouTube channel. I don't think they've posted anything on there lately, but definitely give them a subscription and a like. Good people doing good stuff. So please check them out. Updates. It is Phil's birthday, so Phil will not be here tonight because he's out getting white girl wasted. So it's going to be me and Bill Bradley and Ryan Cox. As any of you, I'm sure, are aware, like Bill Bradley is now part of the Herpetoculture Network because he is. We brought him on as like for the Lizard Brain radio show that he does. So he's sort of like I guess an affiliate would be the better word, because his stuff is still on a separate stream and it's not included in ours. So check that out too. He's only a handful of episodes deep. He just did one the other night with Ty and Scott Eiper, our friends over in Australia. So go check that out. If you're a lizard person in any capacity, it's a good show. And the episode he did with Frank Payne a couple months ago was really good too. Frank Payne does some really awesome work with some really cool species that not a lot of people are doing anything with. So, Johnny, how we doing? Hardin County Herbs, how we doing? Yes. Also, in relation to Jeff and Kendra, Northwest Carpet Fest is happening in September at their house. They asked if the THP crew will be coming, and I don't believe we will be able to make it this round. But next year, I definitely want to plan for it and make it happen. Just given, like, with the Texas trip and Daytona and anniversary stuff in October, there's just kind of a lot going on, more than usual time off wise this year. So I will not be able to make it. I don't know about Phil or any of the other guys, but I would definitely love to get up to that neck of the woods as far as that region of the country, just because it looks really, really gorgeous. And I like it colder, so it's perfect. Update on the Baird's clutch. The 4 babies have all shed. One of them had a bad shed, so I had to help them with that. And I offered food to them that same day. I had one eat, the other 3, no interest in it whatsoever. So I'm going to try them again probably tomorrow night. And hopefully they'll take the corns. All but one corn are eaten. They're like 5 meals deep at this point. They're doing really well. And yeah, I got some stuff coming from Chris Paintshab, our buddy. That's supposed to be here Wednesday. I guess we could talk about that more on Thursday. Little teaser as well. Jake is actually planning to be returning. So it won't be this week, but the following week for THP, Jake is planning to be back. We're still trying to figure out sort of the transitionary thing. Like, obviously, me and Phil will still be doing Snakes and Stogies. We're going to have to see as far as like THP, if it'll just be me and Jake, or if we'll have Phil in there as well. If we're kind of the more people there is, the less gets covered. So we're still kind of navigating that. Let us know what you think in the comments, if it should be all 3 of us or if it should just be me and Jake. But he's excited. He's doing well. He's ready to be back. more of him in the last days than I've seen in probably the last year. So he's doing well. He's excited to be back. I'm excited for him to be back. I miss that guy. He's been coming to work and hanging out with me and smoking cigars and all that good stuff. So looking forward to it. Cox said, hold on, new guy didn't realize Safari won't run StreamYard, so there's technical difficulties. And then Jeff and Kendra said they'll be at Daytona next month. I'm very excited about Daytona. Billy Jenkins is going to be there again. Ryan Cox is trying to go. I think he still said it's kind of up in the air. Andy Middleton, I believe Tim Morris, and James Oakdale are planning to go. That's going to be awesome. There's going to be a lot of people. This year's Daytona is going to be just an absolute blowout, I think. There's going to be a ton of people. And this will be the first time we've vended, so or at least me and Phil, outside of UGR for Phil. And Billy's going to have a ton of stuff for sale animal-wise because he's having a really great season, so he's going to have a good bit of stuff he's hatched out this year for sale that is very much worth checking out and stopping by. And Jeremy Carroll's going. Sweet. Yeah, man. So we ordered some physical copies of the magazine to sell. Not unfortunately. So we only ordered a handful. There's not going to be a ton. So if you want copies, I only ordered a handful of the different issues. I didn't order all of them. So we do have some. We're going to have shirts and we're going to have all that other good stuff. And look. Oh, hold on a second. Not Brent Venomous is here, but I can't tell if that's Cox or if that's Bill because their little screen's white. Let's see what happens. Maybe not. I can hear something. There he is.
Hello.
That is one Ryan Cox.
That is me.
What are you wearing on your head?
It's a hat. I'm not Brent Venomous.
Is that a Huffy? That's a nice looking bike, boy.
Regular can of dip? No, says I. It's a Ninja Star. Oh my god.
Watch this, people.
Dude, I love Apple and all, but man, they'll ask you a million questions. Like, do you want to allow access to your computer? Do you want to allow access to your webcam? Do you want to allow access? I'm like, just sign in.
That's the issue we had with Alexander on THP last week is like his phone wouldn't let him connect his camera and mic to StreamYard. So then we ended up going to Skype, which like we somehow got to work. I wasn't a fan of using Skype. StreamYard's so much better in terms of just like the
sound quality
and everything. Just everything was super pixelated and like the resolution kept going in and out. So Skype is like an absolute last resort at this point. So
yeah, because I noticed it was first off, again, you all saw in the chat, I was like fucking floored because I love anything about squams. I think they're fascinating little critters. But your quality was definitely not as good as usual. I could tell with Skype.
Yeah, it was rough. And then what it ends up doing, instead of this where I can just pull the audio from it, you have to download the entire video.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I had to go into QuickTime and rip the audio from that. And then put the audio in GarageBand, add all the usual stuff I add, then export it, then upload it. It's like an extra couple steps. So,
yeah. I gotta get this damn thing off my head.
Are you going to be doing Snakes and Stogies hats like Cox has? That would be pretty cool, but I don't think so.
Yes. If you get anything in cryptic camouflage, I'm gonna wear it. Okay, I'm gonna wear it. No
choice.
I was trying to get.
If you are wanting hats, Billy's planning on making some hats to bring to Daytona. If you want one and you're not going to Daytona, let us know and we can arrange that to happen. So we'll have tons of shirts, THP shirts, THN shirts, the Knobtails.IG shirts, magazine shirts. We're not going to have PCE ones because just how complicated I made my logo. Billy's like, dude, I'd have to go through by hand with a scalpel and like cut all the fine detail, and I'm not putting him through that. So I'm thinking I'm going to find a way, see if maybe Adeline or someone can make like a dumbed down version of that logo so I can do shirts and stuff like that to where it's still obviously the same. It's just not as detailed. So
Somebody's got to get an embroidered Specialized Fauna dad hat. That's all I want.
Specialized Fauna dunce cap.
Yeah, exactly. Specialized dumbass.
I never said that.
I did. I'll tell you every day. Who else?
What are you smoking? What is that? Is that a foundation? Is that
Undercrown Maduro? I picked
the Flying Pig. Little short stubby thing.
It is definitely the short stubby one.
Yeah, that's a Flying Pig.
Okay. It was because the only reason I picked it up is because I saw it was sitting next to that crazy ass one I showed you in that chat. That thing was terrible. I love the flavor because it was like, you know, it was like a good, like, I don't know, sweet little cigar or whatever. But it just like, it looked like a jewel in size, how small and thin it was.
Oh yeah, man. We carry those, and it's one of those weird things where when we have them, nobody buys them. As soon as we don't have them, everyone comes in looking for them.
Like, it tasted like, honestly though, here's the thing.
They're bizarre.
If I was gonna smoke a flavored acid, so I would definitely pick a blondie over that all day, because that thing burned so just stupid. It burned so stupid. It was like doing like a V. It was like a V cutter in the front, but it was burning like, I don't know, it was so stupid. I was so mad. I smoked it like a quarter of the way on my route, and I was already having a bad day, so I flicked it off.
Bill,
pop.
Well, see, the issue is A, box press cigars in general, you're at a much higher likelihood of having burn issues because of that box press.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you take that box press and you flatten it like they did with that waif, that acid waif, you're bound to have burn issues. Like, it just, like, the physics of it just don't work with combustion and lighting and stuff like that. It just doesn't happen that way. So it's like, of course you had burn issues. It's a square, flat cigar.
This cigar was the profile of a jewel. It was probably about, I don't know, probably 5 inches, but it was like 8 millimeters just thick.
Yeah, dude, they're even thinner than a jewel.
I'm like, are you kidding me? But it was fun. I mean, I'll try anything once, like Brent said.
I feel bad because I told Bill I'd probably break out a pipe tonight, but I bailed on that idea. I'm spoiled with cigars, man. It's too much work. But I am smoking the Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust Sober Mesa Brulee. I've been on a pretty hardcore Steve Saka Dunbarton kick, so really great cigars. They are more expensive than the market average. He makes them that way, but they're also very good cigars, and they're also very worth the money. So he's got some new stuff coming out that hopefully we'll be getting in the next couple of weeks, because the owner of the shop went to there's a trade show in Vegas every year. It used to be called IPCPR. It is now called PCA. This is the Premium Cigar Association. So the retailers all go. You get to see all the new stuff that's about to come out. Get to place orders. You get discounts and stuff on like bulk orders, like your normal orders. There's usually like show specials. So it's just for retailers. So he, the owner went out there and did his thing, and I'm really excited to see what we end up coming in with, because there's some new stuff coming down the pipe that looks pretty good. So very excited.
That's good. Hopefully,
with cigars, there's not like stuff dropping new all the time. Like, everyone seems to drop something new. Like, there's some companies, they'll release one new cigar a year. There's some that'll release like 5. So everyone kind of does it at the same time too. So you just get this massive flood of UPS boxes of new stuff, and then you have to play the game of figuring out where it's going to go on the shelf.
Johnny said he's good for a dad cap. Come on, Justin. Find somebody who can embroider me a dad cap.
I don't know. Embroidery is a whole nother thing. It's way more advanced than what Billy can do.
Oh, I got this weird TikTok thing where it was like guys like making custom rugs.
I've seen that with the gun, like the giant, like, dude.
It's like a giant tattoo machine, but for material. It's so strange.
It looks like it would be very painful if you had a mishap with it.
But they make some crazy stuff, don't they?
Mm-hmm. It's like they're making shag rugs, basically. So people have some context, like long fiber shag rugs and various characters and designs and things.
You need one of the Chondro cast logo.
That would be pretty cool.
Like a white 4x4 rug with the Chondro cast logo in the middle of it.
I don't know, those shag rugs, man. They attract so much. They trap so much crap.
Oh yeah.
Crumbs and hair and dirt. And...
Cypress mulch.
Bill, you are muted. I see him talking, but I do not hear him.
Oh, I thought he was being quiet.
I think he has been. Thomas gave me some of those Curavari Buenaventura's, I think when we were in Augusta a couple months ago at the beginning of the year, and they were pretty good. But what's new with your stuff there, Cox?
What do you mean?
Your collection. You got anything new? Still nothing, Bill.
I've got a bunch of, or not a bunch, but I got a couple new things. I got a trio of Mexican hognose from Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I don't even know the last time I was on here, but I'll give you the year recap. I'll give you the year recap. It was
last winter.
Yeah, it was cold outside. Yeah, you're right. I had a hoodie on. I got the Eastern hog. I got the trio of Mexican hognose. Maybe I got the corn. I don't know. I may have had the corn snakes then, but I got 2 corn snakes from Joe. I got a sulfur female, and then here's the problem. I wanted some basic stuff, and then Joe's like, here's a list of morphs that are attached to this. I want to say it was an A-male red factor buff, maybe? I don't know. I just wanted an A-male. Or actually, I didn't want it. I just mentioned he's put in the box. I heard him.
You heard him? I didn't hear him. Bill, are you there?
He's very quiet, but he's there.
I can't hear him. Oh, wait, I can a little bit.
Yeah, he's very quiet.
Just a tiny bit. You got your levels turned down on anything?
No, man.
You sound like you're very, very, very far away.
What about now?
Nope. Still quiet.
What are we doing here?
I thought you were a professional. I can't hear what he's saying, but I'm sure it's like, bitch.
Lizard brain radio over here.
Mm.
But and then I got rid of one of the retics. I sent it to Bill, actually. I gave him the super dwarf.
The one that I kept going back and forth on?
Yeah, the one you were like, I don't know if I have the space. And I was like,
man, I wanted to. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to overcommit to something that I just would take up more space than I needed it to. Because I'm not going to breed them. You know, like I love that snake. It was gorgeous. I would kill to have it, but it was one of those things where it's like I'm at a point where it's wants versus needs.
Well, that's where I was. It was like, because the plan was to only be in our apartment for a year, and then the housing market went absolutely bonkers, dude. Like you all got in your place, had a good time. You all dodged his bullet, because this stuff. I mean, I'm seeing 900 square foot homes in Kentucky, 2 beds, 1 bath that are selling for $205,000.
Yeah,
it's insane. But
we got ours for under 200, and if we sold it now, we'd make a sizable amount of money off the house.
Oh yeah, there's some of the older neighborhoods on my delivery route where I'm watching realtors. They'll park their Tesla in the road, and then they walk down with flyers, and they just start taping them on doors, and within a couple weeks, you'll see about 8 for sale signs in the yard, where they make them a hell of an offer. So, I mean, I can't blame them, but for people like me in the in-between state, I'm like, shit, I need a recession or something.
Yeah. Johnny Barrett said, speaking of Billy, I'm wearing the THN shirt that he made right now, and I got to say, good job. These shirts are awesome, and he was super accommodating, easy to work with. Make sure y'all get one. They did come out very well. Like, when I saw that they were, like, the thick vinyl, I was like, I've seen those before. They look kind of cheesy, like, clearly look homemade. These are actually, like, he does a very good job with them. I think the one I have originally that was Phil's logo is just now starting to crack and, like, come apart kind of after over a year of wearing it. They held up really well. So
also I am getting one of them BHTs from Billy. Them Billy Hunt Tigers.
Oh, I was like, what's a BHT?
It's a Billy Hunt Tiger. Yeah. Them 50% Russian, 50% Peterson. Right? I got a girl from him coming in tomorrow, actually.
I've been tempted.
Those
or
are
some of that stuff too, man. I can't bring myself to do it because I know that like I like them and they look cool. They're gonna end up just taking up space, and I'm gonna have them for probably a year and then be like, I need this tub that you're in. Like I gotta.
Yeah.
You're not a Baird's.
You're not a Baird. You're not a Chondro. You're not a Subok.
Or a corn.
Man, dude, Subocs are unicorns. You will see everything but a Subok on Morph Market.
Well, I think their availability seems to be very seasonal. So, but when you do, it's going to be a male. It ain't going to be a female. Like the fact that Phil managed to stumble across what was supposed to be a pair, and I think it's actually 2 girls. I'm like, dude, that's not a bad problem to have at all. Like you'll be able to find a male, no problem. Like I have a spare male that he could use if that's the case. Like
yeah, and then y'all could just split a clutch. You're
right. That's not a bad problem to have at all, given how hard female Subocs are to come across and how fast. I mean, when you do see them for sale, they fly like they're gone.
See, because I'll like in between stops at work, and I open Morph Market and go through the other Collie Bridge section.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, it's like I post in the group. Y'all see, I have seen more Russian rat snakes than I have Subocs this year so far. And Russian rats are not common. They are rare. They are rare snakes. Like I want one.
You and me both. They've been on my list for a long time.
Y'all start talking about them. You called them the European diamond python. And I was like, let me see this shit. And I start watching videos.
Yeah,
and
true.
2 hours later, I'm like, well, I kind of need one now.
What about
Bill,
now?
do you live?
Hey.
Yes. Hey.
I exist.
He's real.
Of course I'm real.
And he sounds good. I don't like that size in those cigars, man. Like they do that flying pig and all their different lines.
And it burns like this.
It doesn't always burn like that. My problem is it's just like I feel like you smoke about half of it and then it starts getting really hot and it's almost unsmokable because of how much heat it starts throwing.
Who makes a cigar called Flying Pig?
It's Drew Estate. It's a size they do in all their lines. It's
really?
Like they have the number 9 Flying Pig, T52 Flying Pig. And it's just this little short, almost like a nub.
It is a nub. It's a nub and a half.
And I love nubs, but same thing. Like you get halfway through it, and then it starts getting hot, and you end up smoking only half a cigar. And they charge more for the Flying Pig on most stuff too. So it's like you're paying more for less cigar. I
think for that waif, this, and then a new Boveda pack for my little bag I keep in my truck, it was $22. So I know it wasn't cheap.
Jesus, how much did you pay for the waif?
It was like $5.99. Way more than again.
Oh, really? We sold them for like $5.50. So
yeah. I want to say that the store I go to, it's just because it's my route, and I get a little bit of a discount on energy drinks because I go in there in the summertime and I'll get like 3 bottles of water and a Monster. And if I just buy that, she's like $2, and I'm like, okay.
I hook up our UPS guys because they drop off so much stuff. I'm like, dude, take a water, a Coke, or something. Take a beer. I don't even care. Like, I feel bad for them.
But you all are just a cigar shop, right? You all don't do any of that novelty bullshit or the tobacco only pipes.
We are not a sponsor, a Spencer's.
Yeah. So my smoke shop, that's what kills them. They have good cigars in there. But then, on a Tuesday they'll order 190 pounds of glassware. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Y'all better cut me a deal.
Yeah, it's funny. We sell some glassware at our other shop, not at our downtown location. And I have people coming in, they're like, you have any one-hitters? And I'm like so oblivious to that stuff that I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And they look at me like I have 3 heads. I'm like, I don't.
You got the one that looks like a spark plug?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm clueless.
That's the stuff Bill confiscates.
Yeah. He's like,
not anymore. Illinois doesn't care.
Oh, that's right. They don't anymore.
We just went to the Ren Fair yesterday, and all of the stuff that I do with my pipes and tobacco is all Danny Boy pipes. And they have a place at the Ren Fair in Wisconsin. So we go up there, and we're just looking around or whatever. And my wife was like looking at pipes, just checking stuff out. And the guy actually came up and asked and was like, so is this an alternative tobacco thing, or are you looking for a pipe? And I was like, I'm actually in the pipe club for this company and like have several of them that we're looking for a pipe. He goes, oh, okay. Yeah. Then you should check out this wall right here. Yeah.
I wish people would make that differentiation when they come into the shop, because they come in there like, you got any pipes? And I'm automatically like, regular tobacco. Like, yeah, right here, wooden briar, you know. They're like, oh, different kind. And I'm like,
oh, you old man.
Like glass? Yeah. I'm like, why didn't you just say that? Like, I don't know. It's, you know, people are like, can I smoke weed out of this briar pipe? I'm like, I mean, you can try, and I don't think it works, but whatever. I mean, you want to spend $60 on a pipe, go for it. Like, please be my guest.
Yeah, you should just say yes every time. I mean, by the time they realize it, too late.
Yeah, no refunds.
Yeah,
because they asked the same thing. They're like, man, which one of these cigars is the best one to cut and roll a joint with? And I'm like, the $35 Padron.
Hell yeah,
would be perfect for that. I couldn't do that to a Padron like that though. It's like killing a unicorn.
But you get the money.
Live forever.
Thomas asked for an updates on the Baird's hatchlings. So all 4 have shed now. 1 ate the other night. The other 3 refused. So I think I might have just been a little early on the other 3. So I'm going to try them again probably tomorrow night. So, but they all look really good. I'm keeping all of them. I feel bad because originally there's like the RPI event coming up, and I put on the spreadsheet that I'd donate a pair to the auction because that was when I was under the impression that I'd have 6 instead of 4. That's not what happened. So I told P, I was like, look, I got 4 of these things. I'm pretty much keeping all of them. So I changed it to a voucher. So,
how many corn snakes did you end up with?
9.
You should put a pair of those.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Like I have someone who won a voucher in another auction, and they want a pair. So that voucher's going to go towards that. And then Jake wants a pair. So I want to at least hold on to a trio or 2 pairs. So I guess whatever, after everything's said and done with that, then I can make a decision as far as that goes. But I'm also completely okay with holding on to those for however long I have to. So what's new up in your neck of the woods there, Bill?
I actually have a handful of things that are on the way and a couple of new things. We decided that we wanted to do more colubrid size stuff and more handheld type lizards. Now that Illinois is pretty much open,
like for education stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we have been booking a lot, like to the point that we're having to turn stuff down. And of course the weather immediately turned to 90 degrees and disgusting.
Yep.
And so I get really worried that stuff is going to overheat. Like if we have a festival on Saturday and a festival on Sunday, I don't want to do the same stuff. I'll take like the sulcata or something like that. Like that thing doesn't care,
built for it.
But like corn snakes or, beardeds or stuff like that. Like I don't want to stress them for that kind of time frame, especially some of the festivals are like 5 and 6 hours. So we already are rotating through. We're already cooling animals off and moving stuff away from grabby hands. So yeah, we just added another Uromastyx because those are the coolest lizards ever.
I miss those so much. I've been so tempted to get one just to have one because I enjoyed them so much as a kid that I freaking love those things.
Well, it was at the reptile shop up here, the folks that host NARBC and the Chicago Reptile House. So we go there, and actually went there because I got a new rack just to house colubrids because I was already adding on, and then I was shopping or whatever, and he comes up, he's like, dude, I know you do shows, I know who you are, you should look at this. And it's just this monster male Malleuro. So it's jet black, a little bit of yellow speckles in the back, but he's plenty big, but doesn't have the full yellow back. Yeah. So it's a little weird. But he's a monster. Like, he's bigger than my hand.
Damn it, Keller.
Hell yeah.
Oh, those are cool. Those are really
cool. They're freaking dinosaurs, man.
Yeah. And we use the Nigerian because it's orange, looks like lava. Kids dig that thing. But yeah, this guy's huge, jet black. He's fat. They eat salad, so he doesn't give a crap. I added an Eastern Chain King. I added a Greaser King, Long Beach locality. And then I'm getting a from Pain Shop is going to send me tomorrow.
Dude, we're all getting stuff from Pain Shop this week.
Oh,
You're
for
getting
real?
something. I'm getting some stuff. Jake's getting stuff. Cox is getting stuff. Billy's getting
Cox
stuff.
is not getting
literally,
stuff.
everyone is getting stuff from Chris this
Cox is waiting on
Yeah.
Black Kings.
So there's a Mexican Pine coming here.
week. You got one of those.
I might also be on the Black King list. And then I am getting Nerodia Clark Eye from Ari.
Oh, cool. Oh, I saw those. That was really
Yeah.
tempting. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a Nerodia guy, but those Clark Eye, the Salt Marsh stuff I've heard are
Salt Marsh. Okay.
Well, and my
Yeah.
thing about him is with his setup and the things that he's doing, if he posted and said, I use their mom for display, these would be great for display. Like, I trust it. Like, he's the guy, you know,
Mhm.
I mean, doing the stuff that he's doing. I mean, I trust that what he says is going to come true. So
I've heard they're like the
he was messaging
anti-Nerodia.
me. Yeah. And like when you message him, he's super cool anyway, but
Mhm.
he was like, oh yeah, the mom looks like a tomato. They're great to display. You should totally check it out. And I was like, yeah, man, done. Cool. I'm in for that. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
How's that tiny retic treating you?
Yeah.
Awesome. That thing showed up and it was hungry, like you said.
Dude, whenever I was putting him in the bag, he like side-eyed me and took a swing at my arm because that's the one that he does right. He just has like a side swing where he's like a Woma python. I'm like, quit! Who taught you that?
Yeah. No, he was cool. Like he pounded as soon as he got here, and then he's been super chill. I've used him a couple times. He just wanders around. Kids are always big into, especially younger kids. Like I love that was always the problem with retics, right? Like the retic that I use for shows now, she's like a little over 10 feet. So she just looks like a retic. She's decent size, you know, but they don't, when they're young, how they have that velvet feel, the little guys keep that. Whereas when you get mainlands, they kind of grow out of it and they get that little thicker forest skin going on. The colors are still awesome, but they just don't feel that velvety way.
I think they just get the scales just get so big where it's like maybe if we were bigger, they'd probably still feel velvety, but
right. But yeah, that little guy feels exactly how I try to explain to kids how a baby would feel. So that's perfect.
And it's so weird seeing one that size, ain't it?
Yeah,
it
was a little bizarre. And I tried to explain it to my wife, and I was like, no, it's not a baby. Like it's
that's it.
Like reasonably aged.
It's like
she's like
rat snake.
What? I was like, yeah, it's totally different. And then you try to explain the islands and stuff, and it's over.
Yeah, you can ask Cox, man. I was so tempted to get that thing.
That's like I wasn't gonna sell him because like I did post it at one time, and then everybody was like, "Bro, I ain't gonna give you less than like I ain't give you more than $200." And I'm like, I'm not even trying to do this, but just get out of here. I couldn't do it with the retic bros. They were aggravating the tar out of me.
Yeah, I hate that kind of stuff.
And I was thinking, like, I wanted to get more of those, but like the apartment thing in the housing market, I was like, I'm just going to focus on what I want right now. I have my Sulawesi male. I want to find a Sulawesi female, but everybody's like, oh, we're only selling pairs. And I'm like, I don't need two more.
Right.
But, oh, man, they're so cool. Well,
that's the thing, man. For doing what I do, like, that's perfect. You know, you always have to have a big one to end with. You know, they had the big yellow snake, or I use a big retic. You know, you have to have that for little kids, or really for adults, same way. But
that shit sticks in their head. I mean, without that big yellow snake, I mean, I wouldn't be here. I mean, there's probably a lot of other people in the chat who wouldn't be here without that big yellow snake coming to their high school, auditorium. So it's an important part of the hobby for sure.
But then, the same guys that would like come in, like the bodybuilder dudes that would rip the phone book in half, and
the lady who came around with the dogs who told you, don't get in the van. Get that kid a t-shirt.
But dude, like I just did a show for a lady that her daughter was turning 5. She's obsessed with animals, so on and so forth. She's super into it, right? And I always do snakes first, and then we do things that smell like snake food, so we don't get accidentally tagged.
Mm-hmm.
And she's 5, So like I got the first snake out and she was like, I don't think I can do this. You know,
Changed my mind.
But so I have to start, most of the show has to be smaller stuff in case like everybody bursts into tears because they're 5 years old. I can't just use 3 boas and 2 pythons and then be like, oh yeah, I'm a 6'2" dude that looks like this. So we're going to play with snakes that are bigger than you. Yeah. And then they freak out. So yeah, it always pays to start off with things that just fit in a hand, because for her, like she had a ball python in her lap and it looked like she was holding like a full-size red tail.
Yeah,
because she's 5.
Forced perspective,
for sure.
That's like like we all have these memories, like when we were kids, like, oh man, this rat snake was humongous, and then you're like, oh, this thing was probably 5 foot long, if that.
For sure.
Well, that's like I posted that picture in that group of that black rat I found at my parents' place. And that's like one of the animals that got me into the hobby was black rats in that barn. And like think about when I was younger, I'm like, man, you used to find them, especially when they were in blue. If they were in blue, they would sit on this. We had this wood post where it used to be where people would tie up their horses, and they would sit out there in the sun in blue, and you could walk right up and pick them up. When I was a kid, I thought they were huge. Now looking back, like, oh, they were probably maybe 4 foot long, but they were still cool.
Well, and I love like you'll do a show. And I progress through size just in case people are scared. And I do the same thing with the lizards and all that. And like, I'll get out the ball or like a bull snake and younger kids will freak out. Like, oh, that's the biggest snake ever. And I was like, wait a minute.
No,
I gotcha. Yeah.
Hold my beer, kid.
Here comes the tegu.
Right. Yeah. Or yeah, you get out the bearded or the blue tongue and they're like, oh, this is great. You can hold it. And I was like, no, this one will sit on you. Huh, or all
I find pictures of that old Mali Uromastyx I had, but I don't know. I don't think I have any because he was the same way. He was super black with a little bit of yellow.
Have y'all ever missed the Egyptians?
Yeah,
those are cool.
So I was like, Uromastyx were never on my radar till the last 10 league before they closed her all down. And the last day, me, Joe, Melissa, Carly, and everybody's walking around. And Colin from Crosstown was sitting there. He's showing off his new cock's eye he got.
Yep.
And I turned the corner, and Carly just like throws this big Egyptian Euro at me. She's like, "Hold this!" And I'm like
the size of a small dog,
dude. I'm like, "Is this a Yorkie? What the?" And it's chill, just posted up. I was like, And I see they're importing them again in the country. I was on Mork Market while I was eating dinner a minute ago, and I was like, "Huh." Egyptian
I haven't
Euros.
even paid attention, but that's cool.
I'm like, Egyptian Euros are coming back into the country. But I can't have no lizards like that right now. You would have to do that thing right with a big old 6 foot, 8 foot cage, as big as they are.
And a ton of stuff for them to dig in.
I just posted that picture, man. I'm building another 8x3x6 for a green iguana. You can do it.
Not in a 1,000 square foot townhouse.
Yeah, you got to get you a building, a bunch of ridiculous stuff, put it in there.
Yes,
that's the way to do it.
Dig yourself a basement.
Oh my God, Kara, she sent me a link to this house for sale where her family lives in Western Kentucky, and it was like an old gaudy 70s house, but in the middle of it, there's like an atrium where it was supposed to be like, it's got the big fireplace on the wall, and
for real? Wow.
It's like a hexagon, and I'm like. I told her, like, if we bought this house, the only way I'd do this if we get the Sulawesi in the side and the big ass cage and we do it full 70s style. There's like a fake palm tree. There's a flamingo beside it.
Scarface style where he comes out after the wedding with the tiger on its own island.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, man. Hey, but guess what? Houses are cheap whenever you live in a town with a population of like 6,000 people.
It does help.
Not exactly a hot market.
No. There's no opening a serpentarium there.
No, but that's funny you're getting stuff from Chris because he's sending me a pair of thorn scrub rats that he's been holding on to for the last like 2 or 3 months. And then that Baird's he found in Texas, he ended up actually holding on to that, and he's sending that to me too. So
that's awesome.
It's pretty cool. He says it's super chill.
My problem is that Illinois doesn't recognize subspecies, and emery are an endangered species here. So I can't mix and match like that. I mean, I can. I just got to add it to my permit. It's a huge pain.
I got to do a bunch of rearranging and stuff because I don't know where I'm going to put them. Like, I'm starting to wonder. I was talking to Jake about this last night because before y'all hopped on, I was talking about how he is planning to come back not this week, but next week. So
killer.
But I was talking about the Brettles and how if I didn't have that giant cage my mail is in, how I could fit 2 or 3 32-quart racks there and have more than enough space for everything. But that would require me to get rid of the Brettles, and I think everyone is already well aware that every week I go back and forth about getting rid of my Brettles, even though I really don't want to. It's
Hold on, be right back.
Thing. So I don't know what to do. They have too much sentimental value for me to really want to part with them. But at the same time, I kind of feel like I might just have to bite the bullet for the sake of, the other projects and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that sucks. Yeah. You have a finite amount of space in it.
Yeah, my room's small too. I mean, that's the bigger issue is I just don't have a ton of space,
Right.
So. And
dude,
trust me, the garage.
It has nothing to do with the amount of space because Teresa let me get a building with a full basement, and I was doing it yesterday. Like, I got to move the anaconda over here to move this turtle, and you fill it, and then you start playing Jenga.
Yeah, I mean the Diones, like those don't need heat, so I could probably put those in standalone tubs just on top of a cage somewhere and they'd be fine. But I've also got a pair of Mexican Bairds that I bought at Daytona last year that have now outgrown those 6-quart tubs and need to go into something bigger. So,
right. I think those Diones are super cool.
Man, they're really neat. It's funny, they rattle a lot just like the Bairds do, and like they're fine when you're holding them, but like when they strike, it's just like how like Vipera strike, just short little, like that first half or first third of the body is just like meep. It's like straight out and it just cocks right back. I'm hoping. Yep. So I got the female laid just before Texas because Loftman was like, I paired him. He held on to the third female because she was gravid for sure. And then I got the pair, and right. I took her out of the bag, and I was like, dude, she's got to be gravid too because she was looking real thick, and she ended up laying a clutch of slugs before Texas. So I have them back together. Those are really strange because they've got like their gestation period is really long, and then they lay, and the eggs hatch within like a month.
Okay.
It's really bizarre. I mean, it makes complete sense when you think about them being sort of like more temperate, montane almost. That's a good strategy because it allows you to probably carry on the species a little easier when you're incubating them yourself inside of yourself and then dropping them just before they hatch. So,
right.
It's pretty cool. Those things have a massive range too. I don't think people realize, like, it literally goes from China, like that whole Eurasia, from like one side to the other, like in the top band.
Well, when you look at folks like the Zirkles and stuff that have been working with them, like when they post, they're like, oh, this is this locality. And I mean, there's bunches and bunches of them.
Well, this pair that I have, they're supposed to be Siberian. Dr. Messenger, I sent him pictures and he was like, I don't know, those look pretty standard, like Chinese to me, but I haven't seen enough of them as far as like not reds and stripes and like normal wild types to be able to say one way or the other. But they're cool, interesting little snakes.
Yeah, that's the problem when you get into groups like that is it's so diverse. You almost kind of have to be a Dion's guy, to
really know what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I have no doubt that is probably one of the largest ranges of any reptile in the world is just the Dion's. Yeah. See.
Yep.
Jason Keller said some of the egg-laying pit vipers are like that. Just state the eggs and then lay them, and they hatch within a week or two.
I just saw a post. Mueller somebody who posted that. That they laid the eggs. It was like a week later that they hatched. They're just like that. Oh man.
There's a sand boa species that does it.
Yes,
I think.
that's what it is. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Somebody. Oh no.
Might have been James.
I'm gonna mess that up. But anyway, yeah, they showed the eggs and they look super sketchy when they come out.
Yeah, they look rough
because they've been there for so long, and then they only spent a week on the ground and popped. It was pretty cool to see.
Trying to see if I can find a picture of the range because it's pretty massive.
It started raining.
Where are you? Damn it. Maybe not. Well, those bimaculata I got died, so that whole project is shot. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, Vipera are definitely up there. But I mean, look at that. Like that whole band, like I said, from like one side to the other, man. I think you'd be hard pressed to find.
Oh, there we go.
I was like,
oh, is it not showing it?
It is now. It was just a lag. Holy Jesus.
That giant red band.
Woo.
Yeah, it's just like North American rat snakes. I'm sure they're all the same.
Yeah, all the same.
This new species was found by one of Dr. Messenger's friends.
Oh, those things are so cool.
Of Elaphe, that is a damn good mimic of Protobothrops Jordanai xanthomelis.
Wow.
And this one's really interesting too because the dentition's very bizarre for an Elaphe. Like it's got teeth that are almost like not serrated but like bladed. You can see that's what it's mimicking right here on the bottom.
Those things are so crazy looking. Those black eyes are what caught me. Whenever I saw that picture, I was like, man, those are really. We need those in the hobby.
And then I saw this picture of this bimaculata right up here. I can't zoom in on it, but I was pretty bummed because I was like, man, that could have been me. These things are so pretty. Yeah, these are interesting. I think it's just awesome that it's 2021 and we're still finding species.
Right.
You thought everything was discovered, and then they found one more.
All right, just when you think we've figured it, like found it all.
We still got time for technical.
Yeah, looking at those things, it's that yellow and black. It's kind of like that Russian rat snake kind of deal. That yellow and black, you're like, woo, that's a good looking. Maybe that's why people in the jungle so much. You and Billy started this, assholes.
It's funny. He's like, dude, you've turned into a Colubra guy, and it didn't even dawn on me. And I was like, oh my god, you're right.
We all did.
What happened?
He's getting the Casey now.
Chondro dies, and it's like, yep, I'm a Colubra guy now. I've reserved myself to defeat.
Yep, I quit. Fuck this.
See, but you kept the same track, though. It's not like you went from the difficult chondro to easy colubrids. You just stayed with difficult stuff.
Chondros will happen again. Oh, look, there's Chris himself. He said colubrids are the effing best.
Hi, Chris.
Which is fine and all.
He is an enabler.
He tells us that he can't come on Snakes and Stogies on Sunday nights. But yet here he is, hanging out in the chat, stirring the pot.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier to sneak a couple of comments in the chat if you're trying to maybe duck on work a little bit, as opposed to having a camera in your face. Like, no, I'm totally not.
Sexting corns. That's no
all right, well, then
excuse.
you're just being a slacker.
Hey, there was a many nights whenever I was keeping UPS running and having snakes and stogies in my ear.
Yeah, but it's different.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to wear earbuds.
Yeah, see, whenever you're doing repair, you just put a little earbud in, and then you just keep turning wrenches. Shoot off a comment to Justin or Phil. Get Phil fired up on false water cobras.
That might look a little weird in downtown Chicago in full uniform if I had my earbuds in.
No, you would probably blend in. Just one little AirPod in. You would look like everybody else.
Minus a few factors.
Yeah, you know, tomato, body armor. You know.
Yeah. I mean, in Chicago, I'm sure lots of people wear it.
Not true.
It's like a prerequisite to citizenship, isn't it?
You get a free one with your taxes.
Oh, see, Alaska gives you just a return. Chicago, like, here's your level 3 plates.
Yeah. It's like moving to Buffalo. Everybody gets a free snow shovel. It's that kind of thing.
Boo. Snow. Boo.
So given that what Bill does, you know, with education and stuff like that, and his involvement with you know, the Herp Society and stuff up there and all that good stuff, something that I've been thinking about lately is, like, how does one choose all the different causes to support? So, like, we have USARK, which is obviously very important, especially if you're in the Carolinas right now. No comment. I have a lot of comments, but I won't explain them here. USARK, like HCI, ASF, Highlands and Islands, like, there's a ton of groups and nonprofits that are always in need of money, and it's like, I always feel bad because if I could give something to all of them, I totally would. But like Bill was saying when we were talking about it earlier today, he's like, it would be another payment, like car payment, at the amount there is to keep up with. So it's
the $5 Patreons. There's probably there's easily 100 I could do right now. And then, you know, the cool part is that for Patreons or like USARK, the bronze membership is $5, and the idea is anybody could do that, and that's great, and it's for the most part true. And then it's like, well, except there's then whatever you're into. Are you into dart frogs? Are you into lizards? Are you into
there's a ton of amphibian groups down in like Central and South America that are working on conservation stuff too, and it's like, man,
for sure.
I wish
there's one in the US that sells cool shirts that say "Raise a Little Hell."
That's cool.
I love that.
Yeah, it's tough. And I know it seems to me like a couple months ago, you know, there's that giant push for, you know, it sort of comes in waves almost, where like something happens and everyone's like USARK, and then it kind of settles a little bit, and then another wave comes and it's like USARK, and it dies a little bit more.
And then here's the thing, it only really booms for select causes too.
When there's like an active fire happening, yeah.
Well, even then, like even active fires, only if it's a convenient fire to put out. People, I'm not saying about USARK. USARK always fights, but I'm saying some people will like only like support USARK whenever it affects them. So like if, say, for example, Indiana is like, hey, no more native snakes. Everyone in Indiana is going to be like, support USARK, let's fight this bill. But maybe the ball python guys will be like, doesn't affect me. Or I didn't mean to pick up ball python guys, but like, you know, like, you get what I'm saying.
No, they can take it.
He'll be fine.
But it's nobody likes to buy insurance.
Yeah.
That's all that is. The USARK is our insurance, and everybody hates paying for insurance until you get into a car accident. Yeah.
Then it all makes sense.
Yeah. But then if you're hanging out with your buddies, you know, and each of you have been in a car accident in the last 10 years, then you're complaining and comparing, right? Like, oh, my company gave me a rental car. My company charged for my windshield. My company, whatever. And it's a comparison thing to find out how good or bad your experience was in relation. But none of you wanted to pay it, and you all probably were complaining about how much your insurance was at one time or another until the bad thing happened. When that USARK is pretty well always going to be that way. The conservation ones are a little more
that's hard.
In your face, I guess, or could be, because of, you know, Like it's more obvious,
Mhm.
I guess. Like chytrid fungus, amphibian decline, habitat destruction, so on. Like everybody knows that. You've known that since you were in middle school, and they were talking to you about saving the rainforest and saving the whales. That's not new to you. It just, if your life grew up and matured to not be involved in science nerdery, then it's not in your frame of reference. And if it is, then it is. And so
Mhm.
it's easier to buy t-shirts about hellbenders or whatever, because that's relevant to me and it's in my social circles routinely. Whereas, I mean, USARK is because I choose to be involved in them, but you could easily be a pet owner and not have a clue who they are. You could be a guy. You could be a guy that works at the post office and know that hellbenders are a thing, or that tigers are endangered, or whatever, because it's in social conscious.
I think it's to be someone who's going to stand up and start some sort of project for any sort of conservation thing. Now it's got to be so hard to get financial backing for that kind of stuff, just given the amount of like GoFundMe's, between GoFundMe, Patreon, any of the other organizations that are doing a similar thing, just with a different area of the world or different species. It's like, I don't know how they do it all. Like, I'm a member of HCI, and that's $7 a month. That's no big deal. USARK, that's $5 a month. I made the joke a couple months ago. We were talking about it. Like, a crackhead can afford $5 a month.
Crowdfunding is an amazing idea, and it really took off as the age of the internet took off.
Mm-hmm.
And then certain groups really quickly started to realize how small their crowd actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And, and like when you hear Phil and Ryan and all those guys talk about, the number of reptile keepers in the United States, when it relates to like pet keepers and folks that just bought one gecko or for their kid or whatever, it's millions of people. And if they all gave $5 a month, we'd be killing it, which is true. Except
even if only like half of them gave $5 every other month.
Right. But when you're crowdfunding from your crowd. Well, I can tell you right now, the three of us crowd is about as big as this comment section. And then your percentages are going to meter off as you go into their social media circles. And in our social media circle, it'll get less and less and less until you get to people that heard of a guy named Chris and a guy named Justin or whoever. And they're like, oh yeah, the three of you were talking about getting snakes from Chris. And I knew that guy and I'm friends with him on Facebook. So you three are cool. And then fade. And it's your crowd is a lot smaller than you think it is when you start to do crowdfunding and they have to put money forward.
And it's also a lot of people are getting almost apathetic because you're getting hit with so much crowdfunding all the time. I mean,
true.
Let's be honest here. You mean last year we were seeing stuff left and right. It's like support this cause, support that cause, support members and your people in the healthcare system, support people working in forestry for fires. And then we're like, at some point, like, oh my God, who do I give $5 to? So
yeah, because I mean, I always feel bad because it's like I want to support these other causes and stuff like that, but it's like at some point I have to say, like, I have bills and things that I also have to handle, So I don't know. Like my idea, I kind of had an idea to bring up to some of the guys was like, why don't we have one giant sort of funnel where you could pay one fee a month and that gets divvied up between the groups evenly or as close to evenly as possible. And then then some groups that are making a ton are going to make less, and then some that are making less are going to make a lot more. But that would make life easier if it was like, hey, instead of you're already paying $40 a month in various causes for that same price, you can be helping this handful, or even have an option where you can pick these groups.
True.
I don't know.
Probably the only reason somebody hasn't done that is probably just for some legal reason. When you're working with 501c3s and stuff like that, there probably is some kind of big legal thing, whatever. But the idea is awesome for like just like a pool. You could have like the herpetological pool.
I wouldn't think, just from what experience I've had with the not-for-profit stuff, I don't think there would be any loopholes in that way. I don't know. It's kind of a more pessimistic view, but
Yeah.
I think that the reason that something like that hasn't happened is you probably wouldn't get as many people to participate as you think.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
yeah, no, totally.
I give my $20 a month to the 4 things I care about, because that's what I care about. And the frog thing is really sad, but I don't keep frogs, so that it's sad enough to not be in my wallet. I think well, and it also, of course, depends on the person's financial situation, right? Like that's always been a thing in like social commentary, I guess, is, the yes, you will have specific groups feeling more entitled. That's very true. But no, you always have folks like, it's like philanthropy, right? Very wealthy people tend to be philanthropic monetarily, like they use money.
Yeah.
And people that typically aren't very wealthy are usually philanthropic or charitable through effort for work. They volunteer for stuff, or they do things because they can't afford to donate or what have you. And it's, I don't know, like, I think you're going to find that weird line wherever that may be, where it's like, well, look, I can't afford to do all of these, to donate to all of these. And then also I feel like I can't do anything. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's not marketed well, I guess, in that, like, but Phil Goss does try to do that quite a bit, where he's like, look, if you can't give, or, money is an issue, or what have you, whatever your thing is, that's fine. And that's personal stuff. Share stuff on Facebook, forward emails, send an email to your buddy when you get the action alert for the Carolinas, share that to people. And I think if it were maybe explained or marketed in a way that is like, we understand, those folks maybe don't understand where the philanthropy part starts to meter off away from money and into folks that would, look, I can't afford to buy groceries for a bunch of people, but I can go to a soup kitchen, or I can, things like that. You're going to have to find where
you are on that meter.
Yeah. But like, if you're a group organizer, or you're a USARC organizer, or an HCI organizer, you need to figure out the metrics of your audience and what it is that they're able to do. And because if you're just advertising and marketing and, hey, if you could give us $5 a month, hey, and then people can't, or they already have, and they're like, look, man, I'm tapped out at like 8 things a month is $40. That's what I can swing. I could do stuff. And then you just need to give them, hey, okay, well, do this. If you could give of your time or your effort, you can give in a different way. It seems like it's very financially driven from what they're asking for, which makes sense because that is what they genuinely need. But you also will kind of lose people that feel like they can't participate if they don't have the money.
Yeah. It's one of those things too, where I think if it's sort of explained as far as like, here's what we end up having to shell out for legal stuff, just on like a USARC as an example. Like, here's why that $5 helps so much, is because we have to pay X every time one of these things pops up. And then we have X amount of time that we spend trying to combat these things. It's just like when Brent explained, how much $60 towards ASF, like how much of a difference that can make over in like Ghana. Like that was eye-opening. Because I'm sitting here thinking like, yeah, I buy a shirt, but it's like, how much money is really going to help over there? And like him explaining like, look, $60 is a big deal. Like that, if I had that sort of awareness about some other stuff like that, it makes you realize that it does make a difference. And I think that might be part of the problem for some people too, is, oh, what's $5 going to do? Oh, what's, $10 going to do? What's this going to do? It's kind of like the whole voting thing. The people that are like, I'm not going to vote because my vote doesn't matter. It's like, okay, you times that by however many millions of people that say that exact same thing. And there's where your difference is.
Well, that's also, that is a human, it's an emotional and intelligence problem that people work with. And so like I work in EMS, and when we teach people about CPR, we teach them, If you are giving CPR, you have to point at someone and say, go get the AED, go call 911. You have to tell them, because it's just a human response that if we're all standing in a circle,
diffusion of responsibility.
Yeah. Well, but everyone watching, so you're watching me give CPR.
Mm-hmm.
No one will call 911 because they automatically think something
Right.
bad happened. Someone should do this. Of course, someone would do this, and then no one does it until they're directed. It's not malicious. It's
like they did a study on it where.
Oh yeah.
Like,
and now
if someone was getting murdered if you heard somebody getting murdered outside of an apartment building, no one calls 911 and that person dies because everyone thought someone else was going to call 911.
Yeah, because it was so obvious.
Right.
Like, oh, that was terrible.
Surely someone had already called.
Yeah, for sure. But you can extrapolate that to all sorts of things where the group stands around and they're like, oh, the Carolinas are terrible. Like, I'm sure Phil Goss and USARC are fixing it. And it's like, well, yeah, they're going to do the work that they can, but they also can't really come to your house and point at you and say, share the Facebook thing. And because then it makes you sound like a jerk. Like, there's not a good way to come across with that if you're not in person, you know?
Well, I mean, sadly, like this whole North Carolina thing, it should come as absolutely no surprise that legislators are jumping on it. And
sure, it's scary.
With South Carolina too, it's such an easy target for some of these senators and stuff because
absolutely
it's a very easy way for them to say, oh, I see a problem, and it's very easy to get legislation passed because who's going to say no to you saying I'm protecting everybody from dangerous wildlife? Like, it's such an easy win for them. It's such an easy target. Requires next to no effort on their part, and they look like the hero in the end anyways.
It's a feather they can go, yep, I did this. I fixed the problem. And that's what, because I was fortunate enough that my local state rep came from my hometown. And I just saw him one time when he was out, shaking babies, kissing hands. And
was it your cousin?
No, it wasn't my cousin. Third cousin, maybe.
You only said that because of his accent.
No, but and that's like one thing I mentioned. It's like, and I didn't say anything about reptiles or guns or anything. It's like, just, don't go for the easy battles. And that's a lot of them guys. They want to go for easy battles. They
lowest hanging fruit, man.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I can't really fault somebody when they're like, if you're like, oh my God, somebody lost a cobra or whatever. And then they're like, well, here's the thing. I fixed it. All the cobras, it's not illegal to do it. I did that. I fixed that problem because it makes them feel better. It makes
them look like they're actually doing something.
Yeah, but also it makes people, for a lot of people, because a lot of people are absolutely just mortified by snakes, let alone a venomous snake that somebody lost. I mean, if you fix that problem, quote unquote, some people are going to sleep so much easier just from that. Because
that, and they're going to remember it.
But it's also a multifaceted problem where you could talk about that from legislation of any point and I work in law enforcement, so it affects people like me. But the vast majority of people in this country are unaware of the structures of the law and government around them.
You mean in terms of like how it actually all, like the processes and how it all works?
Or even the importance of it. When a lawmaker says, oh, I want to ban this thing or do this law or anything, I want to write a law about puppies. It doesn't matter. Most of the people that are voting for that person or not voting for that person or what have you, and are even those that are politically minded, have zero concept of that entire process or how they do it or why they do it, or to even know that you're kind of being taken advantage of. Like to know that, oh, well, you only did that so that people would thank you and say that you succeeded in doing something because you just banned a cobra. Like, you didn't put any thought or research into it. You just took the easy route and made yourself look good. Like, there's a whole section of society that doesn't have the wherewithal to know that the show is on. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, that dude's saving babies or whatever. And that's not what's happening. It just makes you feel good and make you feel that way. And they can't separate the two.
It's the easiest laws to pass because it's going to have the littlest opposition from the general public.
Yep. Sure.
So
because they're
it's an easy
generally apathetic to that type of thing, and as it goes, you know.
Yeah, and so the reptile community is already marginalized as all hell. Like we are already the smallest, littlest blip on the radar. The venomous keeping community, responsible venomous keepers, that ain't nothing. Not a thing to them. And I'm just really, I hate it. Absolutely hate it. But at the same time, it kind of proves the point when everybody's like, one person can't affect everybody. One person.
That's when
One
this
person
happened. I was like,
did.
here we go. Like, buckle up.
And
that's what I said weeks ago. Is it would take one high profile bite or escape or something that got enough traction in the media to make everything change.
And let's even before that, say, look at Canada. What was it? It was probably, I guess, late 90s, early 2000s. That Afrock somehow smothered that child in Canada, and then that whole province is like,
I think that
no
whole
more.
thing was questionable, though.
But
That whole thing played out in court. It had nothing to do with the snake. That man was convicted.
Yeah. But guess what?
And the article that stated that was over a year later. I read maybe 2 articles that ever talked about the man, and they never discussed it again.
Yeah,
but there were hundreds of articles about that snake.
They planted the idea.
You bet.
Yeah. And guess what? In that province, it is still illegal to this day to have large constrictors. And then their definition of large constrictor is like boa constrictor. They're not even talking like Afrox, Berms, Retics, Apodorus, like big stuff like that. They're just like, over this big, fuck it, we're done. We're done playing these games. These crazy guys with snakes, we don't want to mess them no more.
Yeah.
So people want this astronomical event to happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah, people talk to me about that one quite a bit because we work with large constrictors in the shows. Like, it's brought up all the time.
You're also close to Canada too. So.
Well,
closer to Canada.
Closer than you. But no, and I hate that because, especially given my background, I pay attention to that stuff. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It was one guy. The guy was a scumbag. The snake got blamed for it, and then none of you cared.
And it's completely counterintuitive to what you're there trying to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that too. But like it, and I hate that because that dude, like that guy wasn't even a crappy keeper. He's a crappy human being.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's secondarily screwed with the fact because his hobby happened to be snakes. Yeah.
People already think we're weirdos.
For sure.
Exactly. And that's what's something like I've been slowly, because for a long time, I've like really never put it out there at work or anything. You know, there was one time the guy figured out whenever I said the word Alterna, one guy across the belt, I found out he kept snakes too. And he's like, oh, look at my copperhead I found in my backyard. I got a 30 gallon. I'm like, oh, shit. Because
that's always the first person to find you, right? That guy.
There's a lot of people that think you're that guy.
True.
There's a lot of people that will think you are that guy.
Well, my wife and I just did. So my wife helps me with all of the educational demonstrations, and she does a bunch on her own. But she has no poker face at all. And she has a little bit of resting bitch face anyway, but no poker face. And she was not a reptile nerd 10 years ago, and now is knee deep in it with the rest of us. But it really bothers her when people say like stupid, outlandish things about reptiles, especially adults, because she came to this late and then learned a bunch of it just by listening to me hang out with all my nerd friends. And then she became friends with them, so on and so forth. And to her, she's like, well, it isn't like complicated, or like the stuff that we know and that we do isn't all that complex.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like
outlandish
basic stuff, as far as like knowing that a ball python is, the size of your forearm or what, just like simple things that the rat snake wasn't 12 feet long. Right. Yeah. Like really basic stuff. And then we teach a bunch of very basic stuff to kids. And so for her, she's like, yeah, that's like common sense. Of course it's not 12 feet long or whatever. We're walking into a photo shoot, and the person that is the manager of the studio is like, oh, we saw the lady had booked you guys for the reptiles. I was waiting for you to come. I keep a bunch of different snakes. And we're like, oh, that's awesome. And what do you got? And he was like, oh, I have some corn snakes and king snakes, and I have a bunch of ball pythons. I'm like, oh, cool. I said, we brought a normal one for this, but we have a couple of morphs that we like to show kids, and I teach genetics with it. And the guy was like, oh, that's great. Like, she asked for the big yellow snake. Did you bring the big one? Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Of course, everybody wanted a Britney Spears picture, so we brought one, whatever. And the dude was like, yeah, my ball python collection, they go from like 3 feet to probably 7 or 8 feet. And I was like,
there
what?
Goes.
And I kept walking toward the stairs, right? And I heard his tone of voice change. And he was like, oh, hey, thanks. The studio's on the left or whatever. And just stopped talking. And I was like, Teresa was walking behind me and she just looked at that guy like he's a moron. I know that's what happened. And we got up to the studio and she was like, did you hear what he said? That is ridiculous. And I was like, did you say something to him? She goes, no, I didn't want to be rude, so I kept walking and I was like, I bet your face didn't. But that guy, I doubt he was making up the fact that he has snakes. So he likely really is a reptile keeper, a pet owner, and still said something to us who he regarded as professionals.
You were the chosen one.
Totally outlandish and incorrect.
Yeah. And
it's like, dude, this is like basic stuff you got to be on the ball for before we can get to here's why USARC's important and please don't do stupid things on TikTok. You got to not be dumb first. Sorry.
I hear that stuff at work all the time in the lounge because I'll be working on the magazine or I'll have like a Snakes and Stogies shirt on or something. People are like, oh, you keep snakes? I'm like, yeah. Like, yeah, I saw like a 10-foot rattlesnake like 2 months ago. And I'm like, okay. Like, oh, when I was a kid, I had a 12-foot boa. I was like, okay. Like, I don't even, it's just like, sure. I'm not even gonna go there. Like, fantastic.
See, I can't decide if it's like, I know sometimes it's people are not good at understanding measurements if they're not.
I work in construction. I know that.
Yeah, that's for real. Like, they're people that grow up to become engineers, that grow up to work in the trades and things like that are usually pretty skilled at that. And then you'll see people that are like, all right, well, we need a 2-foot section to get from the toilet to the wall or whatever. And most people can like just go get one that's like 30-ish inches, measure it and cut it down. And then you got that one guy that shows up with the entire pipe. And you're like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I got to measure it. And then we're going to get to 24 inches. And it's like, yeah, you didn't have to bring that 96 up here. Like, what?
No, I'd rather have it not needed than need it not have it.
No, I understand. But like, it isn't, I don't think that people in that scenario are typically like trying to be helpful. I think that they don't know what 24 inches looks like, or,
we'll
and then
figure it out.
Yeah. But then people who are well-versed in it and experienced or have done it. And so they're like, oh yeah, grab that one. It's pretty close. We'll cut her down. And then you extrapolate that to somebody that sees a corn snake and they're like, oh, when they're coiled up, they uncoil and it's probably crazy. I bet you it was 6 or 8 feet long. And they just, I don't know. They don't have a concept.
Yeah.
Because I can't believe that many people are actively trying to brag to strangers. Because that's very strange. That's weird to me.
That's a weird thing to brag.
Why would you walk up to me because I look like this and be like, oh yeah, I played with a 12-foot boa once? I'm like, no. For one, no, you didn't. And for two, like, you don't know me. Like, why are you trying to impress me with your giant boa? I don't get it.
Even in your field, they're probably like, yeah, I hit a piece of steel from 200 yards with a Glock 19.
Yeah, we have a lot of those. Yeah,
did you?
We have a lot of those. Yeah, that's a thing. That's definitely.
I was blindfolded and I shot the gun from behind my head like Jimi Hendrix, and I hit the steel at 150 yards.
That's
dead center.
That's a thing.
I'm pretty much John Wick.
Pretty much John Wick. But, I mean, that's the whole brag thing. That thing, it kills me because I had whenever we first moved in, we had some friends over. I cooked some stuff on the grill.
Agreed, and finally, Johnny.
A couple of friends were they're like, so you still have your snakes here? And I'm like, yeah, the stuff snakes. They're like, can we see one? And I was like, you had just sent me the old man Alterna. And I was like, this is perfect for somebody who's afraid of a snake or unsure. If I show him this old bastard,
he's so old and decrepit, why not?
It looks like the dog off Family Guy, the Herbert the Pervert.
Jesse.
That's what this king snake is.
Jesse.
Oh, that's not good.
He's an old, he was old, and I was like, Cox, you want an alternate, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I got one that only eats fuzzies every once in a while, and he's like 12 years old. He's perfect.
And I had a friend. He said, yeah, Cox brought down that 5-foot snake, and I was like, whoa, do not church it up that much. He was
and I mean, to Johnny's point, he said, how many of your local shops have people that work there like that? He said maybe the secret is educating people that deal with 100% of the reptile population. And I think that's a point I've made previously. It's been a while, but like I talked about how just because someone owns a shop selling these things doesn't necessarily mean they know exactly what they're doing. For some reason, there's this thing where people think because you went through all the hoops and stuff of getting a brick and mortar and selling these things that you know everything about everything you're carrying. And I found that not to be the case with a very large majority of pet shops.
And don't
whether they specialize
like my wife into them.
And I mean, whether they specialize in just reptiles or other stuff too. It's like I've been in plenty of shops where I overheard the owner of that shop telling someone how to take care of dart frogs or something, and it was like, what? Like where can keep 3 different species of baby like froglets in a deli cup with some wet paper towel, and that's it? Like, there was a shop that's not even open anymore, but that was literally like one day there was a family in there that just stopped in. It was like a husband and wife and their 1 or 2 kids, and they wanted dart frogs just on impulse. And so I listened to the guy tell them, you just put them it was like an Aratus, a Luke, and I think a Tink.
Oh dear.
And he was like, yeah, you can just keep in this deli cup with some wet paper towel, and
see, but I've been in quite a few pet stores that display their dart frogs like that. I always thought that was weird.
Well, here's the thing with pet stores. The more I'm like getting into like the aquatics and stuff, and I'm starting to realize. So pet stores have usually 3 paths. Pet store is we're going to sell dry stuff, and we're going to have some animals, and that's how we're going to focus on the dry stuff. There's other pet stores that are going to be like, we are going to have a crazy aquatic section, and that's going to be our thing. Like if you want to get any kind of gourami or cichlid, we'll have it. And there's the third one, which is usually a mixture of, there's still heavy aquatics based, but still has a few people that knows some things about reptiles, or they have some local breeders that wholesale to them, and they can, if they don't know it, you can usually go there next time, and they've asked that guy. But I think it's just I don't know. It's really hard to get somebody who like works at a pet store, or even worse, PetSmart and Petco. I mean, with the work shortage right now, imagine trying to get somebody who knows anything working at it.
I think they're kids that are there for a job, man. They don't care. It was better than working at Walmart or wherever, TJ Maxx. It was something a little cooler, a little different. Like they're there for the paycheck. There is no doubt people that work in those chains that are like into that stuff, and like they have some at home, and it's like a hobby. But I think that's the minority of most of them, employees. And
you gotta think for the main people who are having reptiles, like not like the people who are hobbyists, not the enthusiasts, but the main people who's like just gonna keep like a leopard gecko, a beardy, a ball python, a king snake, a corn snake. That's who they're gonna run into, and so that's like who they're gonna get their info from until they get to YouTube, and then they hopefully go down the wormhole. Hopefully they go from Snake Discovery to to Dave Kaufman, and the next thing you know, they're like, "Who's Matt Most? What's a file snake?" That's the ideal path. That's the ideal path.
And it's that breadcrumb effect where it's like you stumble across one species, man, that's really cool, and then you find more information, and then it leads you to guys like Matt Most that are actively working with them.
Yeah. And you're like, "Ooh, file snakes." That's a species.
But how do you get the person that doesn't do that, gets a leopard gecko and is happy with it, to give a crap about the rest of her peticulture?
It's hard. It's real hard. It's kind of like, how do you get the one guy who has a 6-shooter Smith & Wesson to care about the rest of the gun industry? They don't care.
Well, right. Hey, it's 2021 and we're not selling railroad bonds anymore. So,
hey, that's just weapon value.
But those people, when we talk about crowdfunding and crowdsourcing and strength in numbers and political influence in numbers, there's way more of them than there are of us.
Yeah. And it's funny you brought that up because this morning I started, because of Brent, I'm on like an audiobook kick. And I started Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life, 12 Rules for Life.
Love Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, he's awesome. But he was talking about a law that I've never heard of. It's called Price's Law.
Okay.
And so basically, it talks about how you can have a group of people in an industry, a community, or a hobby, whatever. And Price's Law says that 50% of the work is done by the square root of the total number of people doing the work. So I looked at, I thought about that in terms of what we're doing with the podcast and the magazine and stuff. And it actually really adds up because you think about just the sheer number of people that are just keeping reptiles, whether it's on a serious level or a casual level. That's absolutely true. And so that made me sort of realize that sort of the stuff we're doing, it really does matter, because when you only have a handful of people that are doing podcasts and putting out the information like that adds up a lot as far as output and quality. And I'd never heard of that law before, but it's dead accurate. I mean, with pretty much everything. And there's an article on it I'll have to share that talks about it. And it's basically why few people contribute more.
Because you've all done a project at school, and you were probably
there you go.
You were probably the kids that did the work. If you're doing something like this, that's why you're a guest and not a host.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate all the work y'all did. We got a solid B.
That's for real. See, if you're the person, and I'm not saying you're wrong, if you're the person who is a C's get degrees, you are A, correct, and B, not the person that Justin was talking about.
No, I'm not Justin. There's a reason why Justin is there.
But I'm saying that's how that
it probably works out in our favor.
Well, here's something so one of the paragraphs in this article says the value of creation in your career, and this is talking about job performance more or less, but you can translate it to this if you want to. If you're an employee, the intuition behind the law can help you realize if you are wasting time at a job and providing enough value. If you are not one of the star performers, it could mean a few things. You either don't enjoy the working at the company or in the field itself. You were just slacking, or you were just a novice figuring everything out. It's a really good article, but
that makes sense as far as personalities go. You either don't like it, but you need the money.
Mm-hmm.
You're new, so you don't know how to do the important work, or you are the gray man kind of person who works 9 to 5 and just gets your paycheck and cruises. You don't hate the job or anything.
Right.
You're the guy who comes home and puts all his energy into, his hobby, his snake collection.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I just heard it and it made me think, and it was I've always kind of not necessarily written off the stuff we do, but it's just we do a podcast and we try to put out quality content, and the magazine, it's cool and all this. I don't know. Hearing that made me feel like it had a little more weight to it than maybe I'd initially realized.
Because it does have a lot of weight.
Absolutely.
We say this all the time. You're doing a really big thing with all this stuff. I know it may not seem like a lot of times, but it really does. The magazine, the podcasts, plural, ConjureCast happens every once in a blue moon.
But I was thinking about it, just like I said, the sheer number of people in the hobby, like I said, on some level, 1 through 5, whatever, 5 being balls deep and everything, just in it. And then 1 being, I have a leopard gecko or ball python or corn or whatever, and it's just something I enjoy, the numbers and the percentages of sort of how this law works. It's that's actually spot on with the number of people that are content creators wise, the number of people doing YouTube stuff and podcasts and whatnot. It adds up and it makes complete sense. So.
Well, maybe that's the angle then, is you need a core group willing to do the work, but you need the support of the group at large. And I feel like the core group section, herpetoculture in general, I think it's there. I think there are enough people that are involved, that care, that are into it, that support USR, can do all these things, that if work needs to be done, I think the work can be accomplished.
Yeah.
Now it is the financial or political or whatever support. That is the part where the numbers
There's
are what
the
matters.
Disconnect. Yeah.
Right.
And I can see from the standpoint of someone who maybe just has, 1 to 3 animals, just like I said, for fun at home, just for the enjoyment. Like they have it, it's the equivalent of the family dog. Seeing the laws and stuff coming in and seeing like, oh, well, a venomous person that was keeping cobras and stuff, or, tegus that got loose, whatever, like sort of not really understanding like the gravity of it. Because, to them, maybe they don't know anything about how serious it is that, a zebra got out, like a zebra spitter got out, and how bad that could have been. And, thank God it wasn't. But I can see where they would look at that and be like, I don't see how that really pertains to me. But I mean, it does pertain to everybody. I don't think it'll ever get to a point where you can't keep like corns and stuff like that. But the idea of me only being able to, right.
Sorry, Casey.
The idea of
Not
only
really.
being able to keep a certain section of animals because they've been deemed safe and okay by people that aren't involved, like that terrifies me.
Well, that's like people say that, and then they're like, "Oh, that never happened." Then you kind of like look at Australia. It happened. It happened. Well, no, I mean, this is the thing about in general. Australia, they could never have anything that's exotic.
Right.
And then,
I mean, that's a little different circumstance with them because they like as a
island
nation,
they
don't have a choice, right?
But it's effectively, people say like it would never happen. You can like, no, this is what could be our future if enough dumbasses screw it up for everybody.
Well, see, I think it's twofold. One is the person with 1 to 3 pets maybe doesn't feel as though they're a part of this community.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they wouldn't value the things that the community values because they don't think that they're a part of it, right? It's culture. Like we're building a culture. If you don't feel like you're a part of our culture, then maybe you don't like Chinese food or it's not in your culture, whatever it is. And so that's one part is, and really there's not like, you can't make someone part of your community.
Yeah. They either you can't force them to say you have to have all or nothing, Yeah.
Well, you have to have it to where they want to be a part of your community. And then we have to not be a bunch of elite jerk-offs and let them be a part of the community.
Yep.
And then the other portion, when you get to Carolinas and US Arc and things like that, is we're in like a weird shift politically in our country anyway, where because to me, it isn't just a reptiles thing. Like it bothers me when people in the government tell me what to do. And where I'm from and how I was raised and things like that, my culture, right, is that's more of like when you talk about Australia or talk about different countries, I automatically go to, well, maybe their country isn't like our country. Like they're allowed to just enact laws and do things and ban things. And maybe they're a little more restrictive on their freedoms than we are supposed to be, because that's not how we view ourselves. Right. And like, but there is like that, we're in that weird shift politically for all sorts of things. And then especially like politically, as far as the nation goes, like we're definitely an afterthought. Like we're not as important as other political issues currently happening. And so that's always going to be a little bit of a fight. Like I understand that people are fighting for what they perceive of as freedoms and things like that, and legislation and laws. And this is my angle for that. This is my facet of that. This is the important fight to me. And then it's how, because that's a big part of it, is like any political argument that we've been having in our country for the last 10 to 15 years is very sided, very divisive, and so on and so forth. And then you get to ours and like, it's not even like we have sides, right? It's not like, oh, Democrats hate snakes and Republicans love turtles. And no, like nobody who's in any of that knows who you are or cares. Yeah. They know we're like really outside of their thought process. And then, I mean, it's incumbent on us, we have to put it in their thought process and put ourselves in the public conscious of, this person's an idiot. This was a mistake. We're not like this. we just have to
competent keepers do exist.
We have to
just don't make the news.
Right. And especially when I hear you guys talk about venomous stuff, and you talk to somebody like Brent, or even when you get Phil going and talks about like old timer dudes, or like the rando people across the country that keep super cool stuff you never hear about. It sucks, but I almost wish all of them, like I wish Kristen Wiley from KRZ had a TikTok.
Yep.
And it was just the most boring crap you've ever seen.
Mind-numbing jargon that like me and Phil would love to hear.
Like, this is a gray garbage can, and here is a lance head. Like it, and not some moron. You know what I mean?
I think there are some people who are trying to be like that. There's a couple of people on TikTok that I won't say their name because I'm not sure. I'm still on the fence about them. I've seen a couple of videos like that guy's behaving pretty well for
what I just mean in general.
It
doesn't have to be that platform, but like as it progresses, you know what I mean? Like YouTube was a big deal. Now it's kind of a generational thing. Facebook is now for old people. Twitter is for famous people and political commentary, and TikTok is for anybody under 25 that's cool. Well, but we never have a big nerd presence on there. We have a huge idiot presence on all of those, and it honestly seems like podcasts are a huge presence for serious people. Like I listen to and check out tons and tons of podcasts, and there's actually a bunch because people started them during COVID, and very few of them are like bro snake keeper idiots that talk about ridiculous things. Almost all of them.
That's because a podcast is too much work for a bro snake keeper.
Yes.
And that's why I agree. Like TikTok, and I hate that I'm shit on TikTok right now, but it's like that's a very easy 60-second format, 15-second format.
Press the button, do the dance.
Let me grab my cane brake rattlesnake and walk around, dance with it, or let me duck and weave with my cobra. Like, oh look, I'm so like it's, and people watch it not because they're genuine. Nobody like watches that in the large numbers. Nobody's watching that for millions and millions of views because they're like genuinely fascinated. They don't care that you have a zebra cobra or a king cobra. They're like, are you going to get bit or not?
Yeah, it's NASCAR.
I signed up for car crashes, gunfire, and you getting bit by a rattlesnake. Come on, hurry up. I got 15 seconds.
Well, as these things progress, the metrics for you to be successful with them monetarily usually are based on views and clicks and likes and algorithms, and the entire social media spectrum, which we're all a part of and participate in, is built that way, right? It's built on monetizing your attention. And so if you decide to make a living in that space, you're right or wrong, you are forced to work in that way. Like you can't go against
monkey dance.
Exactly.
But if you want Instagram to work for you and to help your business or help your whatever, you post one picture a day and a crap ton of stories that they came out and told you how to do it. YouTube has classes on how to use YouTube and get clicks and likes and follow through and percentages watched and so on and so forth. They tell you what to do. If you want to use our platform and monetize it, we will help you because it helps us with ad revenue. So this is what you have to do to make our algorithms work for you. And then if that's your job, you go do it, because you can't get on their platform and be like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make videos the way I want. And they'll let you and just give you no money.
But you're not going to get paid.
Yeah, because their algorithm is made to ignore you unless you do it that way. And then when you get to it's the same thing, Twitter, that was the whole thing. Facebook was too much. Now Twitter's fast, 140 characters. So it had to be something ridiculous or very poignant for people to pay attention. And then YouTube was too long. Now we're going to go to TikTok. So it's only 30 to 60 seconds. It's got to be something
cool. Ever shrinking attention span.
Yeah. But if you make your living in that space, you
adapt or die.
Yeah. And I do fault those folks because I don't agree with what they're doing. but I logically understand why they're doing it, because if they didn't, no one would click, and then they can't pay their rent that month. And I know why you're doing it. I just wish you didn't have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's such a hard, gigantic double-edged sword. That's the thing about it, because I feel like there are some of them guys that started off genuinely nerdy, or they probably are just snake nerds like us, and then they went down that path or whatever. But like, God bless, sometimes it's so hard to fight against it. Because Justin, he always gets on me.
Because I can't. Sorry, go ahead.
I was like, Justin always gets on me because I always say, like, there's a couple. I'm like I feel like they're not a bad person, and Justin's like, but yeah, if you see somebody who's an irresponsible gun owner running around being stupid, you don't claim to be like, oh, well, he started off life, It's like you just kind of have to be like, no, condemn them. Ted
Bundy was a nice guy too.
But I don't know. It's so hard.
But I'm not a 5'8" brunette, so he probably was nice to me.
Hey.
That was messed up.
I also think that you brought up a point with the gatekeeping, because I've been guilty of it. I know I have. I recognize my own shit. I think as a community, we are awfully hard on some people sometimes. We are really hard on, especially the three pet, they got 2 ball pythons, they got a corn snake, they want to get into the hobby, so they're like, I think I might want a Boland's python. Can somebody help me? And then we all get on that post and we all start shit talking, because we're all like, yeah, I want one too. Give me $10,000. I want a Boland's python. And sometimes I'm like, I admit it, I'm guilty. I am guilty as anybody else. And I'm like, maybe I was a little bit of a shitbag Steve on that one. And you can't take it back. And then they're like, fuck this hobby, fuck these snake guys. I'm gonna go over here and boop the snoot. I'm a little banana python that I got at Petco, and never talk to these assholes again.
So. Yeah, I mean, that's like one of those. That's sort of almost like an entitlement kind of thing, because it's like this new person's gonna come in and want the snake that I've wanted for 20 years. Like, hell no. Like, I've worked for it, they haven't. It's an earned sort of.
Yeah.
Right, but that's an us problem, not a them problem.
Yeah,
right?
No, definitely. That's what I'm saying. Is like that's.
But I will say that social media has made that difficult, because, so like you brought up the gun thing, right? Yeah. And I teach all kinds of things like that, and so I run into people that are not skilled or educated, usually on purpose, because they ask me to teach them, and it's so much easier to just because it's in person, and I can grab them and pull them aside and be like, hey, this isn't okay, and here's why, and this is what we're going to do. And then personality wise on how I convey that is one thing, and personality wise on how they take it is the other. Right. But it's much easier to not just blast them in front of the class, unless, if it's like a safety thing or something, then you got to stop. But, if you go onto a Facebook group with 11,000 people you don't know and say something dumb, or not, I don't want to say it dumb. You say something that's genuinely ignorant, as in you lack knowledge, right? So what you said sounded stupid to people who are educated, okay? Just the gamut of personalities that there are in the world, a certain section of people are going to tell you to your face that you're stupid. And that section of people gets bigger when you have the anonymity of the internet and you can't hit them in the mouth.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's happened across everything. People say awful things on the internet all the time due to the power of anonymity. And when you get into a hobby, especially when you start saying things like that, and I do find that a lot of those comments are driven where people want to get expensive things or things that are considered advanced. And it's one of those, but you guys, and I've listened to you talk about the chondro stuff a lot, and I agree, chondro folks are easy to dig on for that because they seem a little snobby. But the cool thing about the hobby and the advancement of enclosures and equipment and so on and so forth is that if I buy a captive bred chondro and I go get a decent enclosure and a good set up for heat and things, like, it's not that difficult to keep them alive.
Agreed.
Providing I can have the monetary investment up front. And so it's one of those, like, I think you're probably a little mad that in 1994 it wasn't that easy, and it sure is now. And so you blast them when the first dumb thing they say, instead of being happy that it's so easy that all I have to do is correct this one thing that you thought was wrong, and you could probably keep a chondro, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
You aren't valuing the right stuff. It's an awesome thing that some goober can go to NARBC, and if they have a fair amount of money to invest up front, you can get the snake in the enclosure. I wish they would set that up first, but they never do. And they could literally buy that as their first snake. And if they bought a good enclosure and a nice system, they would do fine. And then when they come ask you one dumb thing about feeding it a rat or a chick or some goofy thing you didn't agree with, you blast the ever-loving crap out of them, instead of being like, no, man, look, here's the deal. Try a fuzzy, do this so you can scent with some chick down or whatever. Rock on. I think you'll be good to go. And then that person can post a 24-inch cube that's set up and decked out, and they're doing good, and it's their first freaking snake. That's super cool, because when I started, that was impossible.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. Instead, like, I do think there's a lot of being jealous of that if you've been in for a long time. Like, I had to work really hard to even get my first one. It didn't go well. And I personally, me right now in this podcast, I've never had one since. And
my first one was a disaster.
But anybody could roll up if they wanted to and start out that way at NARBC in October, standing right next to me. And it's like, oh my God, The
issue there is, like, that's not typically the case. Like, if you're, when I was in the chondro groups and stuff, you'd see posts of, I just got this Biak, at a show for $300 and it's struggling and I don't know what to do.
True.
And it's like, yeah, I don't think that's, like, worthy of getting on their case about it. It's like, it was an impulse buy, but now you just here's what you have to do to fix it. And yeah, you're going to end up probably spending the same amount that you did or you would have on a captive bred animal. And if, like, I see that a lot too, where people they won't necessarily be friendly about it, but they'll give them suggestions. And because it's not the answer they wanted, you're an asshole.
Yeah,
sure. Well, so I would ask, so here's my question, especially for import chondros, right? That's a super common one, because chondros are beautiful when they're young and they're reasonably cheaper when you see the imports on tables, and there's a lot of them. Okay. And they're going to go to a chondro group and they're going to ask that question, and it's going to be, oh, you got to treat it. And you totally screwed up. You're such an idiot.
Yeah.
And why didn't you ask before? Why didn't you do your research? Why didn't you da. And I understand the frustration. And I teach with reptiles. I listen to newbie stupid questions every day, and it's frustrating. But I don't want them to kill that chondro.
Right.
And I personally, just the way my attitude is, I don't really care that they're dumb or made a poor decision. I want them to fix it, and I want that snake to not die a horrible, mistreated death. And so I will help them. Like, I don't understand blasting someone, and then, because the end result is the snake's going to die. And you're supposed to be a reptile nerd. You're supposed to be into this. And especially if you get something like a chondro, if you're the kind of person answering questions in a group, you're probably good at it. You likely have some, and you've spent a bunch of time or invested a bunch of money, and you want to know why they didn't do what you do. And it's like, well, because if you're the example, you kind of sound like a douchebag, and I don't want to do what you do. I don't get it. Like, when people ask me dumb questions about a crested or a leopard gecko, it's their first pet and they don't know. And the things that they're saying sound dumb to me because I know. In the back of my mind, I sit there and I'm like, oh my God, but I don't say that to them because I don't want them to go home and kill the gecko. Right. And that's what's going to happen if they screw up, because I don't understand. I don't understand people that claim to be into reptiles having poor interpersonal reactions on social media, knowing that the result is that reptile is going to die. Like, and if you talk to people long enough, when they get mad at the newbies, and especially like, oh, I bought a wild caught or I bought an import, it was cheap off a table. Like, there is a prevailing undercurrent of folks that almost, I don't really know how to verbalize that other than like they want the animal to die to prove a point to you that you should have done the quote unquote right thing and done your research. And if that might not be their opinion, but that's definitely how it comes across. Like,
yeah, no, like you've committed this cardinal sin. Now you can pay the price.
Yep. And for somebody who claims to be right, but for somebody who claims to be a reptile nerd, that's a pretty shitty attitude to have.
Agreed.
Is you think that this animal should pass away, probably suffering all the way to the very end, because you want to teach a lesson to some stranger you don't know on the internet? That's awful. Like you're a pretty awful person if that's what you're doing. Like that astounds me. That like, that's a pretty common thing. Like people get so upset.
I think that roots though just from the fact that, I mean, you see it in the carpet groups all the time too. Someone comes in, they got a Craigslist carpet or whatever, and they're like, what kind of carpet is it? Like you see that question so much that people get tired of it. But you have to, like, I always try to understand or keep in mind this problem is new to them. It's not new to us.
Right.
We see that question posted weekly in any of these groups. And it's like, it's going to be there. There's always going to be that subset of people that have done this and they want to know. To them, they're completely green to it. They don't know,
honestly,
anything about it.
I would tell people to get out of the group. If it's driven you to that level.
No, definitely.
If it drives you to that level of cynicism, man, don't involve yourself in it. Like
you're gonna get angry at people saying they have to talk to their wife or they'll let you know. It's like, then stop selling animals, because that's just part of it, man. That's just, you're gonna have to deal with that. Like you can tell people in an ad all day long, like, don't waste my time, don't be a tire kicker, blah 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 blah. It's gonna happen. Especially if you don't put a price in the ad. Like if you tell people, if you have to ask, you can't afford it, guess what? You're going to get a bunch of emails asking how much it is, because people don't know whether they can or can't because you don't put a price in the comments. That's a completely separate thing. But yeah, and that's the other thing too, is remembering that you're under no obligation to comment or answer them. But if you already know there's going to be like 5 people that are going to answer it anyways and say the same thing you did. So what's the point?
Like, I will say, specifically for that one with the ads, because a lot of folks listen to Herpetoculture Network stuff. If you're listening to Snakes and Stogies and you sell animals, I am the kind of person that I purchase a lot of reptile stuff and can afford it even if I have to ask the price. If I have to ask the price or your ad says something like that, I totally will not give you money.
Yep, I'm the same
way.
You're
not getting my money, and I spend a lot of money on reptiles. Like you are ostracizing a large segment of your buying pool doing things like that.
Now, here's the thing. I understand if stuff like, so Facebook has that weird, like, you can sell animals, but you can't post. So I understand the ambiguity of that.
True.
But people that like,
I'm talking about like fauna and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fauna is really
I'll keep scrolling, dude.
Somebody's like, here's my email. If you, it's like, fuck you, dude. I email you for how much your reverse Oakity corn snake is. Get out of here. Get out of that. But not to beat the dead horse, but you were talking about the carpet thing. Or here's the thing with that. You can, if you I'm not gonna say do it, but if you get like 5 seconds, and you're like, hold on. If you do put that little comment and you train, like, because I got into all this voyage of bullshit because I'm really Python Radio, because I got a Super Door free tick, and I wanted to listen to Garrett Hartle on there, and then somehow I ended up with the IJs and Brettles, and here we are. But there's a lot of episodes back then.
Conversion has worked.
Where they were like, hey, just take 5 seconds, and when somebody's like, what kind of carpet is this? Just say, if you don't have lineage, it's just a carpet python,
Right. They
and
had that like copied and ready to go.
Yes, and it was like, now that you've got this like group of like 5,000 people that are indoctrinated, like they just copy and paste that that little section. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Conjuring Keepers would be like, just everybody starts spamming that. Somebody just like, they're like here's your protocol.
It's pretty much the same answer when someone's like, what kind of conjure is this? It's like, I mean, no one's going to know for sure, but we can tell by, maybe the head shape and some of the patterning and some of this, like it might have some Biak in it. We don't know though. Like when people ask me that, it's like, it might have some of this in it. It looks like it might, but you'll never know 100% unless you have any sort of documentation for it. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's a green tree. It's going to be freaking gorgeous no matter what, so it doesn't really matter. But I mean, you see it in corn snakes and stuff too. Like it's not just pythons and Morelia. Like people post in corn snake groups all the time, like what kind of morph is this, and everyone's the same answer. We don't know. Like unless you have any background information, we can't tell you. So
I like the heart attack that is in the super there's in the retic groups where it's like I bought this retic Repticon for $200. Kind of looks like a super dwarf. What locality is this? And there's always that one person like looks like a Jampaya, and then it's all downhill.
Yeah.
And then you're just having a stroke in the corner, like, oh God, stop.
But my point is like that's not exclusive to certain groups. Every group, I'm sure there's turtle and tortoise groups where there's a very similar thing that happens, and
that's that's what
lizards. I mean, there's everyone's got that same thing.
Well, something like maybe we should just take if you have the time. I'm not saying because we all work our ass off to support this bullshit. But if you're like at work or whatever, and you just open your phone for a second because we all do that shit, and you see something like that, just if you got a couple minutes, copy and paste that little response or whatever it is for your group, whether it's corn snakes, turtles or bearded dragons or whatever. If you just got like 5 seconds to copy and paste that, and maybe be like, and then put a little tag of like if you have any feel free to reach out or something, because that little bit of good good vibes or whatever. I think a lot of new people will appreciate that, and then maybe they won't be like, all these guys are gatekeeping assholes.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's going to be prevalent everywhere, and it's one of those things.
It is absolutely.
If you don't want to comment, you don't have to. Like I don't know why people feel compelled to jump on someone and with a question when it's like, dude, like the core group, there's going to be like at least 5 people in this group that comment on every single post, and they're going to give you the same answer that you would have given.
Yeah.
So it's like, why bother? It's like the ID groups. It drives me crazy. Someone posts a picture of a corn snake. What is it? And you have like 10 people comment a corn snake, knowing that there was like 9 other people that commented it's a corn snake. So it's like, what are we doing? Like the riddle has been solved. Why? I don't. It's just that just cracks me up when I see it, because it's like they're all like an hour apart too. So it's you saw those comments, but you still felt compelled to like, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring. That's a corn snake. Yep. Just like all the other people that said it. And it's a similar thing with the care stuff and what is my chondro, what is my carpet, what morph is my corn. It's like there's people that are going to answer it. It doesn't all fall on you to respond and be the guy.
No, it doesn't fall on you, but I did think maybe sometimes as a community we should just take if you got the time, just throw out a second, just put a little bit of good vibes out there or something, because I feel like more don't just be a shitbag Steve.
I'm not trying to downplay yours. I'm just saying like it's supposed to be fun. You go on social media to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, don't do that. If
the cynicism's kicking in, just take a step back. But
if it's frustrating you to see that, mute the notifications on the group, snooze it for 30 days. Or whatever. Like you don't have to do that. Like
to subject yourself to it.
Right.
It's not a grenade you have to jump on.
If it bothers you, just don't. And because that's my thing. Like I agree. If you are able and you have the time and you would like to, and you say something positive or you do a good thing, that's pretty much all you can do to counter the negative, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the next best thing in my opinion is don't do a negative thing. Like it's literally, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, but 1,000,000 times a day on the internet. Like if you would just follow that, you'd be fine. And you'd probably de-stress yourself. You know what I mean? Because like you're getting mad at someone you don't know.
Yeah, it takes more of an effort to do the wrong thing in those situations. You have to go out of your way to be in the wrong.
I just don't understand getting mad at people I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a pretty easy person to get mad in general, but like, I usually have to know you or know what you did. Like, if you're just some person I don't know on the internet, I've never understood that. I don't understand internet
You're
fights.
just a name on a screen.
Yeah, I don't know you. Like, what do you do? Take away my birthday? I don't get it. It's very strange to me.
Oh, it's what are you gonna do about it? You can't do nothing. Just go on with it.
The internet's a goofy place, man.
It really fucking is. But it brings you around with a bunch of goofballs who smoke cigars and talk about snakes and pop over here with his pipe.
Dude. Hey, man. I got a sampler pack, and I told Justin, I'm pretty sure that I don't know what I don't know. I've never like smoked cigarettes or anything like that. And I had rarely smoked cigars before kind of hanging out with the group. And I got that sampler pack and it wrecked me. Like I am not.
I forgot about that.
I did. I messaged him and I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure that thing kicked my ass. Like I was good right up until I wasn't good. And then it was way downhill. I don't know.
It's like that video of the guy falling down the stairs, just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Central American tobacco is very different from that Virginia stuff, man. Whole different animal. Y'all are going to Daytona though, right?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
You guys are going to Daytona?
I am working on that. I think it might just be me though, instead of me and Teresa.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be the same for me. If ever, like I mentioned to you all day, if all the stars align, I'm just gonna be like, get on a late night flight on Friday and calling Casey, like, can you come get me to the airport? There's people asking me for quarters.
Jake says he's coming.
Jake's coming.
Yeah, that was the thing that sucked, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of the better years.
And all the cheap flights were to Orlando, not Daytona. I was so mad.
Spirit Air, man. Spirit Air.
That's still not that far of a drive, though, right? That's like, what, 2 hours?
If you can get a rental car, though. You can't get rental cars right now. They are hard to come by.
We got one for Texas.
Right now.
Oh, yeah, because of just availability.
Yeah. Everybody's traveling right now. Because even my cost of membership. Yeah, I don't blame you. But, I mean, I'm trying my absolute best. I've got money stashed away for a flight because that's what's gonna come down to me. Is I'm gonna be like, I got a sleeping bag and a backpack. Who's willing to host me?
Well, so that was my thing. Is the hotel itself? I had actually thought about that. The hotel for the actual event actually still has open rooms, or did last time I checked, maybe a couple days ago. My thing is I can point stay at a hotel that's farther down the beach, but then I feel like I'm going to miss out on stuff because I'm not going to be the same hotel as everybody else.
I don't know if it's like Tinley, but who gives a shit? Just get a Uber down back to your hotel or whatever. Cuts out. Well, okay, never mind. You live there, okay? You know. But that's
I get a hotel for Tinley. What are you, crazy? I'm not trying to drive home after that.
No, I'm just saying that like Tinley is like I say the Quinta across the street. I ain't trying to pay that Holiday Inn price.
How many days should people try and stay if you have never been? Definitely. So like the show itself, like Saturday's the day. But as far as like Daytona, the weekend, Friday night, Saturday night, like that's when it's a freaking blast, man. When you're hanging out with everybody.
See, but now you guys are kicking off on Thursday.
Well, we're getting down there because P and Cody's RPI party.
Yeah, but that's not actually
and then
close.
Because we're vending, so we're going to be setting up. No, they're like an hour and a half away from Daytona, so they're not that far of a drive. But
you sure they're that far from, or they're that close to Daytona?
Yeah. Because
Oh,
I
I
remember
thought they were,
last
like,
year they were like,
2.5.
"Oh, it's like an hour and a half," and I somehow made it an hour. So no, it's not
Oh.
that far.
For some reason, I thought Melrose was way up there.
Hilton, Daytona Beach to Melrose.
No, so like Melrose is here, St. Augustine,
Goddamn Charger.
Daytona. So it's like an L.
Hour and 37 from Melrose straight through.
Yeah, and I've made it there sooner than that. Like traffic usually isn't. There's next to no traffic on those roads most of the time, so go a little faster. Get her done. It's gonna be good.
Yeah,
I'm already telling myself I ain't gonna buy nothing, but I said that last year, and I walked home with like 4 Bairds, so 5, I think maybe.
Yeah, now it seems like every other time I'm on Facebook, I see somebody else. It's like, oh yeah, hey Daytona. And it's like, man, how many people are going that I know?
I mean, even if from here, it's only like a 4-hour drive for me. Like from South Carolina to get to Daytona, it's not far. Like Jacksonville's like 3 hours, if that. So. It's gonna be fun. But I think we were going to talk about snapping turtles, but we might have to just save that for a THP episode, dude. Because I'm being summoned.
Okay. I can talk snapping turtles anytime.
It's another one that I want, and I don't know if I'll ever get.
I told you, man, I got my third one just chilling. It is 15 and a half hours for me. 1,038 miles.
Well, Billy, you start driving and you pick me up in Kentucky.
Just make it a small detour.
Not bad.
It's a small detour.
It's only an extra 10 hours, no problem.
Actually, I am going to be in Kentucky at the end of August.
Let me know.
I'm going to some gorge
Louisville.
place where you... it's south of Lexington.
Oh, you're going to Red River Gorge?
Yes, where you can kayak in a cave. I'm going to do that.
Are you going to go see KRZ?
Yeah, of course. It's like 10 minutes down the road.
Is it? I was going to say, is it that far?
Yeah, I for sure planned it that way.
Okay, let's make sure, because I've never been to KRZ. I've never been to Red River Gorge, and I've wanted to do that really bad. So
it's like the opposite end of the state, isn't it? For you,
it's like a 2
opposite. Like you're higher up, and it's down like in the corner, right by South Carolina. Slade is right.
No, it's not that far over. It's more like towards center-ish. It's part of Daniel Boone National Forest and stuff, or it's right there by it.
Yeah, and I think that's literally like halfway for me, because that's, I think, a 6 or 7 hour drive for me.
Yeah, so you'll probably shoot over to I-65 and come down that way. I think I-65, I-75, one of those two. But yeah, because I've been trying to make it with all this shitty work schedule this year. I wanted to have one day to go to the Gorge and KRZ, but tell me how it is.
Of course.
No, Cox, he's going to keep you in the dark and be like, yeah, I went. I'm not going to tell you how it was, though.
Here's one picture of a door.
There was a river. It was red. And then this place had a bunch of snakes.
Picture of a rock.
You got to take a picture of the crawdads for Lokeman down there.
Oh, that's true.
Apparently they have huge-ass crayfish.
Crawdaddy.
Dr. Crawdad. Dr. Crawdad needs to see all them big old mud bugs
himself.
On our anniversary trip, dear, we've been requested to take pictures of big crawdads. And also people want to know about KRZ.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, KRZ was in the trip. You just didn't know. You talked about it.
I planned the trip.
If you're going to Kentucky and you're that close, you might as well go.
Yeah, if you're in the same town, you have
8 miles away. We kind of, if we don't go, we're 8 miles away.
State.
On an anniversary trip.
I predict the kayaking and ziplining being very tiring.
It's technically my anniversary too.
Justin,
sleep in the car.
Take notes. Write that down.
We're
Write that down,
discussing
Justin.
it.
Have you talked
Take a pillow and sleep in the car while Bill roams KRZ. Problem solved.
No, because if you're doing the
AC
women's
on, get it
herpers
nice
thing,
cool.
Kristen, and they have a bunch of, there's always different interns and stuff there. They're huge on women in herpetoculture.
What?
Look, even more reason.
Yeah.
He's talking about you, Cox. When you go, make sure you go on the Women's Day or whatever you're just talking about.
I mean, I tried once, and then they just said, "Get out of here, you weird fuck!" And I was like, "Oh, sorry. Get out of here, homeless
Why is
Santa.
your beard
No
so
one wants
big,
me
lady?"
here." I just walked out, so I just stood by the gate and just asked for change the whole time.
Pennies for the poor.
There's a reason why they called me homeless Santa.
I don't. Who calls you homeless Santa? We don't call you homeless Santa.
It's not you; it's the people in the streets.
Oh,
So we'd be out here in the
the
streets.
people of the tent city.
Tent City, baby.
All right. Well, Cox, where can people find you?
If you're really just so inclined to follow me, you can follow me on Specialized Fauna on Facebook. My Instagram is Special F. I love life. There you go.
All right, Bill.
Mic drop. It actually kind of sounded like it there for a second.
It was just his high-pitched girlish cackle.
Was that a woosah? Is that what just happened? Did you mute and woosah?
Woosah!
I saw the little namaste. I saw that. You can find me at Coal Black Exotics. You can find me at Lizard Brain Radio. You can, for sure. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, all of them. Lizard Brain Radio goes on the Coal Black Exotics YouTube channel and Lizard Brain Facebook page. I have been doing it on Twitch as well. It lets when you do it through StreamYard, it lets you pick which ones you want to run live on. And I have had a couple of people like Twitch at the end. Twitch will tell you your kind of like audience metrics or whatever. And I have had folks that are coming through on Twitch, so I use Twitch. But I do have an option to run it on Twitter instead of Twitch. And so I haven't really
Oh, I didn't know that.
decided. Yeah, they're like the Periscope thing. Remember the Periscope app? So
Periscope.
if you right? If you click on that one, it will run it through your Twitter. I don't fully understand how that one works, but so yeah, you can catch the show there. For now, I just kept on Twitch because I haven't really had a ton of folks ask me about the Twitter one. So yeah, and Teresa and I both just had.
You do your Mastics episode.
I did a Euromastics episode. Michael Rodriguez, man, Desert Gem
With who?
IG. Michael Rodriguez.
Oh yeah. I need to go back.
Like the Euromastics guy.
I think I've actually. There's him, and then there was the guy on Instagram that's Arids only.
Yep.
I've been wanting to hit them up about maybe an article or something for the mag. So.
Yep.
He's on your network. You didn't even know. Oh my god.
That was before.
That's true. That is true.
Cut me some damn slack.
I thought you at least studied his back catalog before you added him. Jesus.
No, it was totally on the fly. Just made it up.
Yeah, we just did it. That's how we do here at THN.
Teresa and I just did the last episode together, and we talked to Scott and Ty Iper. It was super cool.
Skyper.
And we honestly didn't talk about a ton of the stuff that we thought we were gonna, which Scott brought up at the end. We talked for a long time. And
yeah, it was like a 2.5 hour episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really long. And of course, with the time changes stuff, we kind of wanted to give them, I wanted to talk as long as they wanted to talk because it's pretty difficult for folks to get them on here in the States. But yeah, I thought because they have a book coming out specifically about lizards, and they have several books, and I thought that was going to be like the crux of our conversation because he sent me the pictures and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm super excited," and then we just went off the rails, and it was a bunch of tangents, all still reptile, but it was pretty cool. So
I love it when Scott's like, "Send me the link," when we start talking about like venomous and stuff for like free handlers or whatever's current news.
Oh yeah, they're
Send
awesome.
me the link, and he just hops on. We're like, just let him go.
Yep.
Set him free.
And it's so, man, but that's actually works perfect for what we were talking about. Like we were talking about the community thing. And I said that to him when we were in the episode. I was like, it's kind of weird. Like I feel like they're a big deal and they don't act like that at all. But I told him, I was like, yeah, man, because he called me through Facebook Messenger. That's like the easiest way for him to do it, being overseas. And I was like, I thought you made a mistake when you clicked the button. Like I didn't know if I should answer. Like it was weird, but like, that's how you do that. Like, I think that guy's a big deal, and because he doesn't act like he's a big deal, you can just talk to them.
I'll get a random call from him at like 2 p.m. or something. Yeah. And I'm like, oh God, Scott's name popped up. I'm like, what's going on?
What have I done?
But I mean, that's how you build those. Like Mark O'Shea, when his book came out, and I messaged him, I was like, hey man, I'd love to get a copy, and he said, you're going to sign it for folks. That'd be super cool. I'll PayPal you. Same way. He was like, yeah, man, no big deal. And like messaged me a little bit. I mean, that's how you
get him on too. He was just on Paul McIntyre's show not that long ago.
I know.
I've always wanted to have him on, but never did because I always assumed he was just super busy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he is. Man, those are the kind of people like I feel like I would have to study to talk to him. Every time I see him post, I'm like, those are a lot of seriously technical terms, and you seem like a really smart dude. Yeah.
Yep.
But then, I mean, half of my conversation with Scott was Ty trying to get him not to cuss. So whatever.
It's part of the charm.
That's all right. Apple didn't freak out, so I'm good.
Well, there you go. It's the don't want to get zucked.
The
zuckening. So this was episode 82. Please follow Puget Sound Pythons on Facebook and Instagram, and hunt them down on YouTube as well. Check out some of the videos they posted so far. They haven't posted any lately, but they are very good videos. And we will catch everybody Tuesday. I believe we have Cody Bartolini lined up again to talk about some of the RPI stuff coming up. Awesome. We are going to be limiting the time on this episode. I told P, I was like, we'll do it again. And I wanted to have Cody on again, but I was like, there's got to be a like 2.5 hours tops. The last time you had him on, it was 4 hours.
You cannot eat dinner. You just have to have Cody on at 6 o'clock, and that's it. Your night is shot.
I was like 2.5 hours, and like that's it. Like we gotta. Because last time it was like he would start talking about stuff, and I wanted to like jump in and be like, Cody, we gotta finish up, man. But it was like the jump rope going like 1,000,000 miles an hour, and you have to somehow jump into it without getting hit by it, and like it was just, I don't know. I love talking to Cody. Cody's rants are hilarious. They're great to listen to. But I was like, there has to be some sort of guidelines, like something.
Oh God, he rambles like an old man. I love it so much. Whenever I fell asleep, whenever he was on Joe's and I fell asleep in the podcast,
it's like freaking 2 a.m.
and it was still going. I'm like, oh man, this is done. I opened my phone up and it's Cody still. And you, God damn it, you won't believe.
Yeah, old man Bartolini.
Oh, but I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, everybody have a good night.
See ya.
Thank you both.
Later.